Reddit, what is the most thanks gift that you've ever received during the holidays? Story 1. I've been a vegetarian for 20 years now. Last Christmas, my aunt gave me a barbecue cookbook, and told me it was because men won't date a woman who doesn't know how to cook them steak. Joke's on you, Auntie Lisa. I'm not single because I'm vegetarian, I'm single because I have a personality. Story 2. I used to be a little standoffish at work because I'm shy, sitting on my phone instead of socializing with coworkers. For the Secret Santa I got my guy a nice bottle of bourbon because I knew that was something he'd like. I in turn got a book about how sitting on your phone too much makes you an. Story 3. My sister bought me a CD she really wanted for herself. When I opened it, she said if you don't like it, you'll just take it. I didn't like it, I kept it. When I had my daughter, my grandmother arbitrarily decided that I was going to collect nutcrackers. Every year, she gives us a new one, so now I have 13 creepy 5-foot-tall wooden men of various types in my living room for the whole of December. I hate them, fully believe that one day they will rise up and murder me in my sleep. Story 4. My parents found the Amazon wishlist of someone with the same name as me but not me, thought it was a bunch of weird items, decided to not check in with me or any other family member to see if they had the right list. And that's how I, as 24-year-old male, got a maternity body pillow for Christmas. Story 5. When my sister and I were younger, my dad liked to leave us a Christmas stocking full of small gifts, novelties, candy, etc. on our beds. This was very adorable until one year, when for reasons unclear he supplied us both with soft calendars, topless babes for me, oiled-up thong-wearing Chippendales for my 14 to 15 years old sister. After discreetly saying WTF to each other on Christmas morning, we each got rid of them, and for 20 years they have never been mentioned by anyone involved. Story 6. The same crockpot 3 years in a row from my ex-husband's mother. His new wife was gifted one last year. I'm certain that this woman has a pallet of crockpots stashed somewhere in her house. Story 7. When I was 18, my boyfriend's mom got me an Elmo Live toy. I thought it was a gag gift, but it wasn't. My boyfriend got angry when I told him that no, I did not love it. I didn't say that to his mom though. She was genuinely a very sweet woman. Story 8. My brother, maybe 11 at the time, took the wrapping paper off his gift from our grandmother. It was in a tape dispenser box. Cue everyone laughing, ha ha ha, you got a tape dispenser. We got pretty quiet when it turned out to be a tape dispenser. Story 9. The very first holiday after my wedding, my MIL sends my wife and I, each separately, the same self-help book on how to survive living with an abusive spouse, not how to divorce or anything, but how to live in the relationship with an abusive spouse, not just to her, not just to me, to both of us. 2 copies of the book, huh? Story 10. When I was around 22, my mum somehow figured out I had a secret crush on Mark Wahlberg. All I got for Christmas that year were Mark Wahlberg DVDs, from everyone, in various boxes and wrappings. Like so many Mark Wahlberg DVDs, I stopped saying thanks after probably the 5th one. Story 11. So my family makes this our theme. Instead of Merry Christmas, we have Happy Crappy Christmas. Basically, instead of spending hundreds of dollars on gifts we don't know if the other person will like, we just buy dollar store and wish gifts that we are fairly certain the recipient will not like, but will laugh at the idea of it. Last year I think my sister won when she bought us cheap, Chinese bleaching kits, a hot pink sweater that was literally covered in sparkles with a little bow on it. I was 17 and had to pretend to like it so I didn't hurt my aunt's feelings. Story 12. Clowns. Every year a new clown. Try to tell my abuelito I don't like clowns, they are weird. Get a new clown figurine, doll, lamp, picture, or whatever every year for Christmas and birthday. I have boxes of clowns. Thankfully sometime in my mid-20s my father managed to divert him to kittens. But that was only after 4 awkward years when he decided I loved cows. I don't love cows either. On the bright side, since I kept them all on my dresser growing up, I was never afraid of clowns. They're just background noise to me. I could probably walk into one in a dark alley and just be all, oh, it's just one more clown. Story 13. My uncle gave me a hat once back in my low to mid-teens. It wasn't an awful hat, but certainly not one I would ever wear. I felt really bad laughing at it, thinking it was a gag gift, since it clearly made my uncle sad. He has only given me gift cards since, it was years ago, but it still makes me feel awful. Story 14. I was a step-grandchild and my grandmother sold Avon to feed her QVC addiction, so while the other 6 grandchildren got real leather jackets, diamond jewelry, motocross lessons and 1 year, an actual motocross bike, I got plastic Avon jewelry. For reasons too long to list here, I got placed with my grandparents 2 weeks before Christmas when I was 16. I watched everyone open up their gifts and then one aunt gave me a Walmart bag with some socks in it. Another one told me I should be grateful that the family was taking me in instead of leaving me on the street, and that was my present. 7 aunts and uncles and their spouses, along with my grandparents, and that's how they treated me in a situation that was out of my control. Needless to say, I don't talk to my family anymore. Story 15. My wife still receives a little kid's coloring book and crayons every year from her one grandpa and his wife for Christmas. She made the mistake of telling him that she liked to color when she was 8. Story 16. My grandparents had a tradition wherein they would give a new Christmas ornament to each grandkid every year. One year, I think I was about 5, my great-grandma gave me the most beautiful ornament. It was elegant and tasteful, and way too pretty for a kindergartner. Everyone in my family was like, where did she get that? She hasn't been able to get out to shop yet. Turns out, she stole it all discreet-like off the nursing home's Christmas tree. Great-grandma passed in 1989. My mom still has that thing, and we still laugh about it to this day. Story 17. Even to this day, when my wife and I make pretty decent money, my grandma, 96 years old, still write us a check for $15 each Christmas. It's very kind of her, but not as awesome to receive in your 30s as it was when I was 12. Story 18. An ugly homemade felt Santa head. It looks like someone hunted Santa down, shot him and mounted his head on the wall. It's become my favorite Christmas decoration. Edit: since people keep asking and I don't have a way of linking an actual picture, it looks kinda like this, but worse. Story 19. First Christmas my girlfriend, now wife, and I spent with my parents, opening gifts in my living room, and my mom gave me a vibrating ring as a stocking stuffer. Story 20. Lesbian Christmas. My parents thought I was a lesbian and wanted to be supportive. They gave me pink triangle earrings and poetry books by lesbians. I'm not gay. Story 21. A year ago my mom got me a small novelty-size butter churn for Christmas. It's not pretty, not an art piece, and has no decorative value. The same year she got my younger brother a Nintendo Switch and Breath of the Wild. Story 22. A few years ago, my in-laws handed out their gifts to my wife Em and my wife's sister and her then boyfriend. I opened my gift and it was a very large jar container of Cajun seasoning. It was like the size you would get at Costco, seriously large. I was sort of confused, because they gave their other daughter's boyfriend 3 to 4 t-shirts, a hat and a jacket from his favorite sports team along with a gift card to a store he likes, and all they could come up with for me was a seriously huge jar of cooking seasoning. My father-in-law said he knew I like to cook, I don't like to cook at all. And I got the impression they just forgot to buy me anything, or couldn't be bothered to come up with anything better. I really don't mind getting a weird gift or even no gift at all, but it hurts when it's so clearly obvious they didn't care enough to put even a modicum of thought into it, while at the same time see them buy such thoughtful gifts for their other daughter's boyfriend when I've been their son-in-law for 5 years at that point. I put the seasoning in their pantry before we left to go home. Story 23. For our first Christmas together my boyfriend gave me this beautifully wrapped Christmas gift. I opened it in front of his entire family, and it was the ugliest pair of shoes I have ever seen, like grandmother slipper clogs. The look on my face told everyone how I really felt even though I said how much I liked them. They burst out laughing as it was a prank, and I had another gift hiding. I'm not at all religious, and once my father gave me a 18-tall statue of Jesus. I forgot it in a box in a storage room in his basement when I left. Story 24. A large box of condoms for my grandma because she overheard me and my ex going at it while she was visiting for the holidays and walked in on us in the heat of the moment. Thankfully the lights were off, but yeah, it was awkward and hilarious at the same time. Story 25. Quality quantity. I once had a girlfriend that gifted me like 12 to 15 items of clothing from Goodwill. Don't get me wrong, I have no problem with this in principle, for instance trying to save money, but it just made no sense because 1. This girl did not hurt for money at all, and 2. Several of the items had stains or other damage. 3. By getting so many things she spent more than she would have for one new item of clothing. Easily the worst gift I've ever received. Story 26. Last year I went through a pretty crappy breakup that kept being dragged through me and my ex being off and on for a while. I started to feel better around Christmas time, but still woke up Christmas morning and opened my stocking to find that Santa, my mum, had gifted me a mold your own boyfriend kit out of clay. Wasn't sure whether to laugh or cry. I did spend a nice evening molding an absolute stud though. Story 27. One time my aunt was on the wrong combination of medicines. Yes, she did eventually correct it, and she gave my brother and I gift bags that had a single clementine and 2 unsharpened pencils. Story 28. My dad gave me an air compressor. It was the size of a mini fridge, about waist high, the kind you might have in your garage, except I didn't have a garage, because I was living in an apartment, and I had nowhere to put it. I have moved since then, but I still don't have a garage or anywhere to put the thing. So it's sitting unopened in my friend's garage until I can find a better use for it. Story 29. My family always did the post office Christmas gift donation thing. You know, the one where you get a kid's age and gender to buy them gifts. Well, even on Social Security my dad would give us the choice to do it even if it meant us getting less. I loved it, always looked forward to it. My mom remarries and her new husband thinks it's a great idea to sign us up to receive gifts from the program. I never felt so ashamed. I felt so guilty. BC I was taking someone's Christmas, I guess. I kept asking mom if we were going to do it that year, and when she finally drives us to the post office I got excited to pick out a name. She drives to the back and instead picks up 3 bags of presents. 3 for 2 kids. I was mortified. When I finally opened the presents they acted like they got them for us. I couldn't be ungrateful, however, because the people who got me my presents went all out. A really warm coat and soft AF blanket, art supplies, really nice ones. That helped me get over myself, but I still felt shitty. Story 30. When we were younger, my grandmother would always give the grandkids a bag full of random stuff. Would get things like pajamas, fuzzy socks, a stationery set, and things like that, but every year without fail, she would always throw in a package of underwear. Of course we would all act excited and thanked our grandmother, but we were still kids unwrapping underwear for Christmas. My grandmother is the sentimental type and also wanted all the grandkids to take turns showing everyone what we got. Usually we didn't show off our underwear, but my grandmother would always say, I think there's something else, show everyone what you got. So of course we had to hold up the underwear for our aunts and uncles to see, and for whoever else was there for Christmas. She stopped giving us underwear once the oldest grandkids started becoming preteens. Looking back, all of us find it hilarious and I'll probably remember it for the rest of my life. my grandmother was just trying to get us something we'd actually use, whether we wanted it for Christmas or not, and being a kid, underwear is definitely an thanks moment. Story 31. My husband has relatives who work in a thrift store, so the entire family gets some really weird presents from them. I got a used nightgown like what grandmas would wear. It was white, but had turned yellow from age, smelled musty too, a stained incense stick holder, with some incense sticks in a package that was opened. A collection of china plates with stains, a shirt so big I could swim in it, a lightly used bottle of perfume that was pretty much owed to mothballs. I just donate them right back to another thrift store. Story 32. When I was about 10, my grandfather bought me a BB gun for Christmas. Obviously I thought it was the coolest thing in the world then, but my parents were very uncomfortable with it, and looking back, buying a 10 years old as immature as I was a BB gun was probably not a great idea. Story 33. I've had some amazing ones from my mother-in-law, a how to cook pasta book, a ceramic hen one candle in a gift box that clearly originally had 2 candles in it, a pasta measurer shaped like a cowboy, and my absolute favorite, chocolate-covered nuts. I am allergic to nuts and have an AP pen. I've had 4 anaphylactic shocks in my life. My husband nearly had a heart attack when I opened them. Story 34. A single pair of see-through pink lacy panties for my first Christmas I spent with my boyfriend's now husband's family. The panties were from his 86-year-old step-grandmother. I was 19 at the time and absolutely mortified, but tried to play it off like it was a hilarious gag gift. Edit. Forgot to mention husband reminded me that the panties were 3XL. I've got some extra winter cushion, but I'm just a small human being. It would take a lot to get me to fit a 3XL. Story 35. My aunt gave me a banana case. Yeah, yellow plastic thing to put a banana and protect it from the world, I guess. The next year it was an apple case. Story 36. So last year my dad was short on money for Christmas. I took him shopping to buy stuff for everyone else and he was going to pay me back. He never actually pays back what he borrows. At the end he asked to borrow money for one more gift he needed to get. I gave him the money and he bought me a gift card. It was to a restaurant I like, but he literally took my money and put it into a less usable form. Story 37. Remington electric razor specifically designed for black men. My dear grandmother got it for me, even said black men razor and had a black dude smiling on the package. I'm about as white as it gets, always have been, probably always will be. Story 38. Last year my uncle and aunt got my boyfriend and I a giant white piggy bank with colorful baby symbols around it to start saving for the baby. We are not married, in our early 20s, no baby on the way in the near future. It was a bit odd to say the least. Haha. Story 39. My dad gifted me his old phone when he upgraded. I guess it could have been an okay gift as I had an older phone that I wanted to upgrade, but I just wasn't in a hurry or prioritizing buying a new phone. But it was the same phone I had and his was more beat up than mine. LOL. I was also 30 with the clear ability to upgrade if I wanted. Story 40. Around the year 2000 my mother got me a nice zippered case to hold my CDs. The only issue was that I owned neither a CD player nor any CDs. It was one of the first gifts I opened that year, so kept expecting to open a present and see a new Walkman. Did not get one that year. Story 41. Not me, but once my mother gave my sister a single picture of herself sleeping. It wasn't framed or anything. Just, here you go, I thought you'd like to have this, Merry Christmas. Story 42. When I was 14 or 15 I told my mom that I really liked Andes mints. Every year since then I get Andes mints. I stopped being crazy about them when I was like 20 or so. I had a stack of several years boxes going until I finally made husband take it to work to give away. Story 43. A ferret, 2 weeks after Christmas. It was no secret I loved animals. I had several rabbits, cats, dogs. You can just put it in with your rabbits, right? Yep, just gonna put the animal that has evolved to hunt rabbits in a cage with a rabbit. When I tried to find it a more suitable home I was guilted into keeping it. 6 months later I went to the bathroom while it was out for some exercise and came back to find it had climbed onto my bed, jumped a partition and ripped the ear right off one of my rabbits. Story 44. My friend got me an Arrogant pint glass. At first I was like, oh I love Arrogant, and she's like, oh really? I got it because you're an Arrogant. Thanks. My brother bought me a body condom and labeled it to the biggest in the world. I got him a sweet clock that had backwards numbers and turned counterclockwise. We didn't really get along back then. Story 45. My grandma decided it was a good idea to gift my sister and my cousin also a girl matching thongs last year for Christmas. The problem being that my cousin was 7 at the time. We still laugh about it when my grandma isn't around. Story 46. Wasn't during a holiday, but my parents' gift to me was an unofficial arranged marriage. All I had to do was say yes to make it official. Hint, I did not say yes, so there's that. Story 47. A single DVD for my grandparents. I totally understand that it's about the thought. If this was a DVD that was thoughtful, I'd be all about it. But it was a Bob Hope DVD and I remember being like, okay thanks, and then my parents and I went to the 99-cent store and saw the same DVD deal. And then my cousin's same grandparents got a robot Transformers toy and a talking stuffed animal, and that's how I learned about favoritism. Story 48. Happened quite a while ago. My wife had been wanting one of those magnifying light-up makeup mirrors, so anytime I'd go shopping we'd look at them. Well, one week I took my mother-in-law shopping and I was checking out the mirrors to see if maybe the store had one my wife would like. I didn't find what we had been looking for, but about a week later my wife and I were out shopping and we did find one and we bought it. Fast forward to Christmas. And a bit of backstory is my family likes to wrap real gifts inside other boxes of stuff like pans or moist cat food boxes. I get a box with a mirror on the outside. Thinking that my wife had given my mother-in-law the box, I smile and open the box. Wow, it's a mirror. I looked at my mother-in-law like, why did you give me a mirror? And she says, I saw you were looking at these and figured you must want one, so Merry Christmas. Thank you, Mom-in-law. My wife and I still laugh about it every Christmas. Story 49. A jar of artichoke hearts. Apparently this family friend was around when I plucked one from a jar and ate it, because they're tasty, and I said something about liking them, so she got me a jar or artichoke hearts and nothing else. Everyone else got gift cards for Amazon from her that year, but I guess it was my turn for the gag gift. Story 50. My grandparents once gave me a set of eau de toilette, deodorant and hair mousse for Christmas. I was 12, you know, the kind of toiletries you buy at a Walmart. To this day I am unsure if they were just cheap, if they had some issue with my parents, or if they were just implying I stank. First time I had to force myself to smile and pretend I liked a gift, because my parents taught me that was the correct thing to do. For context, they gave my other two cousins, which were only 1 year older than me, a wallet and a watch each. Story 51. No uncertain gift, but my grandma always gave gifts away that everyone knew had been sitting in her closet for 30 years. No one ever said anything, but we all knew. Story 52. My sister handed me my gift last Christmas and watched my face as I unwrapped it. It was a small painting of a butterfly and it was the ugliest thing ever, but she had painted it herself. I told her how cool it was and she let me squirm for a minute, then laughed and said, "You dumb, that took me 10 minutes and it's ugly as." Then she handed me a gift card to one of my favorite places. Story 53. Secret Santa for my dance class. Think I was 13 at the time. I was known as not being Christian, and the girl who got me was very much in the vein of "you're gonna go to" for believing in other gods. She gave me one of those soft-cover children's books about the birth of baby Jesus. I was pretty hurt about it, but I was also one of those people who wouldn't make a scene, so I just retreated back to a corner and waited for my mom to pick me up while pretending to be gracious for a book with a one sticker still on the front. Story 54. Crazy ex-stepmother got me a watch with the Twin Towers on it and an American flag in the background. This was like right after 9/11. I can't even remember what happened to it. Story 55. I hope my mom doesn't see this, but one Christmas I got a bowling pin painted like a penguin. I don't bowl at all and I liked penguins when I was like 8. I didn't think much of it, because I thought my grandma or my mom painted it. 2 years later I found out that she found it that way, but also won't say where she found it. I'm really worried it's a devil artifact. Story 56. Obligatory. Not me but my wife. A Cherry Mary muffin doll. Think knockoff strawberry shortcake. Gift from her absent father. She was 18 at the time. Story 57. My boyfriend and I had started dating about a month before Christmas. At some point he mentioned wanting a specific CD on vinyl. I hunted the thing down, was out of print, so it took some finding, and was so excited to give it to him. The morning I was going to give it to him, I took a look around his room to realize that there were 1, no other records, and 2, no record player. He was actually really excited to get it, but still had no way to use it. Story 58. I got a book from my dad called Pussification, the Effeminization of the American Male, and I will admit it is pretty funny, but the thing was I was 13 and he told me to read a few pages and try to avoid what those snowflakes are doing, or else I'm sending you to military school. I laughed, he laughed too, but told me he was serious, and he went back to watching basketball, and I was very confused sitting in my chair wondering what had just happened. Story 59. My dad gifted me a slab of rock with a hand-painted portrait of Bigfoot on it. It's a very creepy painting. I keep it in a box under my bed because I didn't like looking at it when my dad was adamant about it being on display on my desk. Story 60. I was but a poor freshman in college, young, naive, uber prude, the product of 2 loving but very conservative Christian parental units, the kind of parents where we never had the talk because their little girl would never do such things. And lo and behold, they were not incorrect. I never thought I'd ever so much as hold a boy's hand. My brother, on the other hand, was a frat boy extraordinaire, freshly graduated and back from a trip to Europe with his girlfriend. Then this one Christmas, with my mother sitting right next to me, I opened my present for my brother. It was pasta. I immediately put the wrapping paper back over it. I was aghast with what I thought I had just seen. My mother begged for me to unveil my amazing European present to the whole room. But what was I to do? Surely the pasta could not possibly actually be shaped like penises, and I had recognized it in a split second. Did I dare open it the whole way and risk being wrong and thought a pervert for my initial reaction? Well, long story short, yup, that was definitely some penis pasta, and my brother had some serious explaining to do to our parents, and I was all thanks. What am I supposed to do with this? One does not simply eat penises. But dang, did I have fun with it, eh? Year later, once the internet had finished corrupting my delicate sensibilities. Story 61. Me and my dad have a small talk sort of relationship, so we never spoke often even when we lived together. So that means we don't know much about each other. Before Christmas one year he asked me what I wanted, and I just told him I don't know because there was nothing that I wanted in particular that year. Christmas comes around and I'm opening my gifts when I grab the one my dad got me, and when I unwrap it, it's a Barbie doll. I was 16. Nice. I was really disappointed, but I'd be lying if I didn't keep that until I moved out because it was also a little sweet too. Story 62. A box of chocolate tea half covered with a giant red clearance 50 off sticker. First of all, who in the thought making chocolate-flavored tea was a good idea? Secondly, thank you for your obvious care in selecting a present for me from the clearance bin at the dollar store. Story 63. My father bought me a bunch of dead bugs in acrylic blocks. He seemed to be under the impression that I was obsessed with bugs or something. because he bought me dozens of them, and a giant spider in glass. I'm an arachnophobe. He just moved to another state and I will miss his Christmases. He gave the best, weirdest stuff, and he would always stuff us with delicious Middle Eastern food. Story 64 for our work Secret Santa. We all had to write things down for our SS to know what we like, favorite color, food, hobby, etc. My Santa got me a book of American history themed dirty jokes, as in dirty jokes that were told or could have been told throughout our history. Story 65 the Christmas after my husband and I got married, my MIL got me a sweater. I can't remember what it looked like, but the tag on the inside said streetwalker. I guess prostitutes like sweaters too. Story 66 when the Jags first came to Jacksonville, it was a huge deal. I was young and didn't watch football, but I decided I wanted a Jags jersey. Christmas morning rolls around and the last gift comes to me and I just know it's my jersey. I open it up to find a white t-shirt with Jags written on it in Sharpie, and a Jags picture taped to the front. I was around 10 at the time and tried to use my best manners to thank my grandparents, while fighting back tears. Side note, I adored my grandpa more than life itself and I didn't want him to know I was upset. A few minutes later my grandpa pulled out one more box from behind his chair and I got my Real Jags jersey. I still have it to this day. It was a Brunel jersey with the old logo on it. Story 67 my dad gave to me a calendar of a bunch of bikini girls when I was like 10. I truly didn't care at all and it was super awkward. Then my mother yelled at me if she was rising a gay I should tell her already. I think they always thought I was gay and I think they still do, so they were testing me. Story 68 used socks tied in ribbon. I was 32 and they were sent from my mom's childhood friend. To put it kindly, she isn't well, my parents, and I winced at them. I was like, I don't have to keep them. Do I? Nope. I still had to write a no thank you letter though. Story 69 an electric egg boiler which can boil 8 eggs at a time. Firstly, 8 is a ridiculous number as that's neither a small or large box size. Secondly, who needs to boil that many eggs at once? Finally, I despise eggs. I don't talk to my mum anymore. Story 76 years ago, my Sam and his mother were invited to a very wealthy couple's home for some Christmas celebrations. They did not like me very much at the time. I guess they were not expecting me. After 30 minutes of her and my son opening hundreds of dollars worth of gifts, the wife came into the room and handed me an envelope with a 40 gift card to a hardware store and what looked to be a quickly written letter. I did not do any carpentry or anything at the time. I assumed this was dug out of a wallet. Still cringe thinking of the awkwardness of watching them open all those gifts and feeling so out of place and unwelcomed. Story 71 I have a distant relative that's a little off her rocker. She always re-gifts odd items to us for the holidays. Once we received a questionable item that no one to this day was able to identify, a bag of rice, and an expired calendar with pictures of her dogs on all the pages. Another year we got a weird plastic fake candlestick thing that lights up in AA batteries. Story 72 I kept telling my boyfriend, now husband, I wanted a Tokyo Police Club CD. Just over and over, this is what I want. Christmas morning with my family. He hands me a CD-shaped gift. I'm so excited. Justin Bieber Christmas CD. I hate Justin Bieber. I think that's the hardest I have ever seen him laugh. Story 73 my mom got me a shake weight at a time when I wasn't working out or trying to lose weight. Also, this year she got me and my wife nosebleed seats to a concert that my sister and her are going to together. Why is this a bad present? She explained that her and my sister have better seats and are sitting together. Story 74 adult coworker gave me a clear candle holder that she had hot glued jewels on randomly. The jewels were those kids' craft types. Inside she put a mini battery-powered tea light. It's the thought that counts, but I did end up tossing it after about a week. Story 75 family received matching trailer park t-shirts from aunt and uncle. They apparently stopped at a trailer park that sold t-shirts. I don't know the purpose. Story 76 my mom gave me a bunch of porcelain ugly naked babies when I was 6. I didn't know it was her who sent them until I tried regifting them to her 30 minutes later. Story 77 my aunt once sent me a water bottle full of chocolate turtles with my name written on it on a piece of paper scotch taped to the front in crayon. She sent this from Texas to California. Needless to say it wasn't usable. Thanks again, Lolly. Story 78 I participated in a work Secret Santa. I bought my person a nice agenda planner because they were taking a course in the winter. I, however, received a Cowboys and Indians themed craft gift with instructions to cut out the pieces and bake them so that they would harden. It was ages 5 and I was 25 at the time. Edit 1 year my grandma got me 2 left-footed slippers. Story 79 when I was about 12, my grandmother gave me a lacy silk lingerie set, a slip and a spaghetti strap camisole, salmon pink color. I remember being utterly speechless when I opened it. I was a very shy kid and I blushed very easily. My mom, who normally was like, you should write a thank you note for that yesterday, took me aside later and acknowledged my discomfort, said she would say something to grandmother for me. I never heard about it again. Story 80 I have 2 brothers, one older, one younger. They got some interesting things they were interested in, things they liked. What did I get? A men's shower kit. I'm not a man. Story 81 ribbon gift card from Amway IBOs. Basically it's a catalog where you look through and pick out a gift. Thing is, I never get around to doing that stuff and there was really nothing that I wanted in there. I once got a Christian book for my mother-in-law about some guy that died and came back to life. She gave it to all her kids-in-laws and wanted us all to read it and then meet up and discuss it on a later date. The meeting never happened. Story 82 I'll list a few shared between my friends. My ex-friend gave my cousins they were friends too a few gifts on New Year's. Half-used bottles of Hollister spray deodorant, and a vial of gallium. I'd where he got it from, or what gave him the idea to give one of them a vial of gallium, but oh well. That's alright though, because I got his sister a custom sweater that I spent $30 freaking on that said if being awesome was a sport, you be the winter face bomb. I honestly don't know what I was thinking. I tried making a pun with winter, but it failed horribly, but I confused myself to the point where I didn't realize how weird that joke was. Story 83. When I was around 11 to 12 my grandpa got me one of those fake workshops for toddlers. Not only was it way below my age group, it was expensive. It came complete with plastic tools, boards with pre-drilled holes for plastic screws, and even a workbench. Before I unwrapped it, never in a million years would I have thought something so lame was in that big of a box. I gave it to one of my friend's little brothers a week later.